They once brought laughter and heart to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but life outside the screen wasn't always as glamorous. Some cast members faced devastating accidents that altered their paths forever. Careers stalled, personal struggles deepened, and the spotlight faded. Now, in 2025, where do they stand? Have they found redemption, or are they still grappling with the consequences of their past? Their journeys are filled with resilience, heartbreak, and unexpected turns. Who has managed to rise above adversity, and who remains lost in its wake? Let's uncover the untold stories behind the faces of this beloved sitcom. James Avery, who portrayed Philip Banks in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, was 45 when he took on the role of the stern but deeply compassionate Uncle Phil. His commanding presence and booming voice helped define the show, as he played a father figure not only to Will but to an entire generation of viewers. While his career thrived during the show's run, Avery faced a tragic decline in opportunities after it ended. He struggled with typecasting and sank into bouts of depression during the early 2000s. Married to Barbara Avery, their union, though enduring on the surface, was often shadowed by James's workaholic tendencies and long stretches of emotional withdrawal. They had no children, a private sorrow he rarely spoke of. His estrangement from his extended family and increasing health problems further dimmed his later years. Avery died on December 31, 2013, at age 68 due to complications from open-heart surgery. At the time of his death, his estate was estimated at $3.5 million. Though wealthier than many peers, he spent much of his fortune on medical care and quiet philanthropic efforts. He is remembered fondly but was often lonely in his final years. Tatiana Ali, who brought Ashley Banks to life starting at age 11, was the heart of youthful optimism on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Her transformation from sweet girl to empowered teen gave the show emotional depth. Following the series, Ali released a debut R&B album, but her music career fizzled despite critical praise. Roles dried up by the early 2000s, and she faced financial strain. In 2016, she married Stanford professor Vaughn Raspberry, and they had two sons, Edward and Amir. But behind public smiles, her marriage was punctuated by separation rumors and Raspberry's long sabbaticals abroad. Ali struggled with postpartum depression and feelings of professional irrelevance. Her relationship with her parents also became strained over financial disputes. Now 46, she acts sporadically and teaches arts workshops. Living modestly in Pasadena, her current estate is estimated at $600,000. Once poised for superstardom, Ali now leads a quieter life, seeking meaning beyond the spotlight she once knew so well. Joseph Marcel, who played the ever-dry, ever-faithful Geoffrey Butler at 42, infused the Banks household with British wit and world-weariness. His layered portrayal made Geoffrey much more than comic relief. He was the show's moral compass in a tuxedo. After the series ended, Marcel returned to the UK with hopes of reigniting his Shakespearean roots, but the transition was difficult. Audiences saw him as Geoffrey, limiting his stage prospects. He married his second wife, Joyce Walsh, in 1996, and they had one daughter, Amelia. His first marriage ended bitterly, and he remained estranged from his son, Malcolm, from that union. Financial missteps and poor management wiped out much of his U.S. earnings. Despite appearing in Royal Shakespeare Company productions, he often lived paycheck to paycheck. Now 76, Marcel resides in a modest flat in London, mostly mentoring young actors. His estate is estimated at just $250,000. Dignified yet weary, Marcel remains devoted to the craft, even as fame left him behind. Janet Hubert, who embodied Aunt Vivian with fierce intellect and elegance in seasons 1 through 3, was 34 when she took on the role. Her performance brought depth and fire to the Banks family, but her abrupt departure fueled years of speculation and bitterness. Typecast and blacklisted after her fallout with Will Smith, Hubert fell into long-term unemployment and depression. She married James Whitten in 1990, a marriage marked by turbulence and eventual divorce in 1994. Their only son, Elijah, struggled with health issues and mental illness, compounding her hardship. For years, she lived in near poverty, surviving on residuals and small theater gigs. In 2020, a reunion with the Fresh Prince cast brought her closure, but not a career revival. She remains estranged from parts of her family and battles autoimmune illness quietly. Now 69, Hubert lives in upstate New York in a rented home. Her current estate is estimated at $150,000. Though once a powerhouse on screen, her life became a cautionary tale of Hollywood's swift cruelty. DJ Jazzy Jeff, born Jeffrey Allen Towns, was 25 when he brought life to Jazz, the hilarious, streetwise best friend who was perpetually tossed out of the Banks mansion. His comic timing and chemistry with Will Smith became iconic. Though his music career initially soared, producing with big names in the 90s, the following decades were far less kind. After a bitter falling out with several collaborators, including a quiet rift with Smith, his projects lost traction. He married publicist Renee Clay, but the union quickly soured under financial strain and touring pressures. They divorced in 2002, sharing custody of their two sons, Marcus and Elijah, though Jeff later admitted to being an absent father. In 2011, a fire destroyed his Philadelphia studio, one of 5 major personal losses he endured, including the deaths of both parents, a near-fatal bout of pneumonia, and a nervous breakdown in 2016. Now 60, he lives in semi-retirement in Delaware, largely reclusive and reportedly estranged from his children. His estimated estate is valued at $800,000, much of it tied to royalty rights. Nia Long, who portrayed Lisa Wilkes at just 22, was praised for her layered portrayal of Will's intelligent, no-nonsense girlfriend who brought emotional maturity to the show. Off-screen, Long's acting career appeared promising, yet after a string of roles in the early 2000s, she found herself typecast and overlooked for leading parts. Her romantic life was equally troubled. She married actor Masai Z. Dorsey, but the engagement collapsed in public scandal. She later had a son, Kez, with NBA coach Ime Udoka, but the couple separated after his highly publicized infidelity. Long has spoken candidly about loneliness, depression, and financial instability in her later years. She now lives alone in Los Angeles, disconnected from much of the industry she once thrived in. Although she occasionally accepts supporting roles, they seldom garner attention. She is 54, and her estate is estimated at $700,000, most of it in a modest trust for her sons. Tyra Banks, who took on the role of Jackie Ames at 20, impressed viewers with her confident, grounded portrayal of Will's childhood friend and brief flame. Yet while her modeling career skyrocketed post-show, her behind-the-scenes struggles remained hidden. Her talk show was cancelled amid accusations of workplace toxicity. Her high-profile relationships, including one with Norwegian photographer Erik Asla, ended in bitterness. Their son York lives primarily with Asla. Tyra's pursuit of motherhood through surrogacy was riddled with legal complications and emotional strain. She also faced a secret battle with body dysmorphia and a lawsuit from a former assistant. These traumas culminated in a breakdown in 2019 that forced her to leave television indefinitely. Now 51, she lives in semi-seclusion in California, occasionally appearing in business seminars, but rarely in the public eye. Her estate is estimated at $3.5 million, diminished significantly from her prime due to legal fees and failed investments. Will Smith, who portrayed a fictionalized version of himself at 22, became a pop culture phenomenon, charming, mischievous, and deeply human. His post-show success was unprecedented, earning global fame through blockbuster films and hit records. But behind the charisma lay decades of personal turmoil. His marriage to actress Jada Pinkett Smith has been marred by public admissions of infidelity, emotional estrangement, and tabloid scrutiny. Their children, Jaden and Willow, both struggled under the pressures of fame, with Jaden battling addiction and Willow stepping away from the spotlight altogether. Will's reputation took a major hit after a widely televised incident at an awards ceremony that led to his professional ostracization. He retreated from public life for a time, reportedly undergoing therapy and confronting a lifetime of repressed trauma, including abuse from his father and career burnout. Now 56, Smith resides on a sprawling but lonely estate in Calabasas. His estimated net worth remains high at $300 million. But those close to him say he has never seemed poorer in spirit. Alfonso Ribeiro, who portrayed Carlton Banks in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, was only 19 when he brought to life the tightly wound, sweater-loving cousin whose exaggerated dance moves and comic timing made him an unforgettable presence. Behind the scenes, Ribeiro's early fame brought both opportunities and burdens. After the series ended, his career waned, with a few minor roles and brief stints hosting game shows. His personal life was plagued by 2 difficult marriages. His first, to Angela Unkrich, ended after years of emotional distance and public speculation. They had 2 sons, Alfonso Jr. and Anders. A later marriage to fitness trainer Melanie Ramirez resulted in 1 daughter, Alina, but ended after a painful custody battle. His relationship with his estranged brother, who struggled with addiction, remained a source of deep regret. Financial setbacks and a failed business investment left him nearly bankrupt in his 40s. Despite a return to modest fame with hosting roles, Ribeiro privately battled chronic depression and anxiety. Now 53, he lives a quiet, reclusive life in Arizona, away from the spotlight he once embraced. His estate is currently estimated at $750,000, a sharp decline from earlier years. Karen Parsons, who brought elegance and vanity to life as Hilary Banks at age 24, captured audiences with her comedic take on a pampered but lovable daughter. Off-screen, however, Parsons' life lacked the glamour of her characters. After the show, roles were scarce, and she turned to writing and nonprofit work, but success remained limited. She married filmmaker Alexander Rockwell, with whom she had 2 children, Lana and Max. The marriage, while initially strong, eroded under the strain of financial instability and artistic frustration. They divorced in 2011 after a decade of tension. Parsons' relationship with her mother was often turbulent, rooted in her mother's disapproval of Karen's life choices. Adding to her grief, her younger brother died in a motorcycle accident in 2008, a loss that haunted her for years. Though her nonprofit aimed to uplift others, she admitted in interviews to feelings of imposter syndrome and emotional exhaustion. Now 58, she lives modestly in New York and is largely absent from the public eye. Her estate is estimated at $600,000. Daphne Maxwell Reid, who took on the role of Aunt Vivian in seasons 4 to 6 at age 46, brought a gentler, more reserved presence to the matriarch role. Behind the scenes, she was seen as a stabilizing force among the cast. However, her real life has been far from serene. Married to actor Tim Reid, their union was strained by professional competition and frequent separations due to work. They had 1 son, Thomas, but his struggles with addiction and repeated rehab stints left Daphne emotionally drained. After The Fresh Prince, acting offers dwindled. She turned to community theater and activism, but financial returns were minimal. Her home in Virginia was nearly foreclosed in 2011, and she quietly declared bankruptcy. Her mother's passing in 2006 and her brother's mental health crisis pushed her into a years-long depressive episode. Despite remaining a public speaker, she confided that loneliness shadows her late years. Now 76, Reid resides in a small townhouse and depends heavily on modest pension income. Her current estate is valued at around $300,000. Ross Bagley was just 6 when he charmed viewers as the youngest Banks child, Nicky, adding a fresh layer of innocence to the show's final seasons. Despite early promise, Bagley's post-Fresh Prince career dwindled after a brief stint in films like Independence Day. By his late teens, casting calls had dried up, and he dropped out of college following a DUI and marijuana possession arrest. His father left when Ross was 9, and his relationship with his mother, his former manager, soured after financial mismanagement drained much of his child actor earnings. A failed attempt at launching a music career led to more debt. He fathered a daughter, Kayla, with longtime girlfriend Mia Thomas, but they split before Kayla's first birthday. Visitation rights remain a contentious issue. Bagley was briefly hospitalized in 2019 for substance-related issues, and his social media presence hints at ongoing struggles. Now 36, he lives in a modest apartment in Glendale, working part-time as a DJ and delivery driver. His estimated estate is under $100,000. Vernee Watson, who portrayed Vi Smith, Will's devoted and often stern but deeply loving mother, was 41 years old when she stepped into the role. Her character radiated maternal strength, always reminding Will of his roots and values. Behind the scenes, Watson's personal life was filled with silent struggles. She married actor Van Johnson in the late 70s, a union marred by infidelity and emotional distance. They had 2 children, David and Lena, but both eventually became estranged from her due to her demanding work schedule and bouts of depression. After divorcing Johnson in 1989, Watson never remarried, citing an inability to trust love again. Post-Fresh Prince, her career slowed dramatically, often reduced to bit roles or voice work. She battled financial instability in the early 2000s and suffered a nervous breakdown in 2009. She also lost her sister to cancer and was diagnosed with early-stage dementia in 2018. Now 80, she lives in a modest assisted living facility in Pasadena, supported by SAG-AFTRA residuals. Once a radiant on-screen presence, Watson now shies from public life, rarely taking interviews. Her estimated estate is valued at around $450,000, mostly tied to union benefits and modest property holdings. Jennifer Lewis, who played the exuberant and straight-shooting Aunt Helen, was 34 when she brought her unforgettable sass to the Banks family gatherings. Her character offered comic relief but also grounded wisdom, often stealing scenes with sharp one-liners. Off-screen, Lewis's life was a tempest. She married choreographer Marcus Wynn in 1992, but the marriage was plagued by substance abuse and ended abruptly in 1995. They had one daughter, Kayla, who later battled opiate addiction, a tragedy that strained their already distant relationship. Lewis was diagnosed with bipolar disorder in the late 90s and bravely spoke about her struggles, though behind the advocacy lay long periods of suicidal ideation and rehab stays. Her post-Prince career had highlights, like roles in Blackish, but never reached leading status. She suffered 2 strokes since 2020 and now lives semi-retired in a private facility in Santa Monica. At 68, Lewis's estate is valued at approximately $1.3 million, largely from residuals, voice work, and her memoir's success, but loneliness and the distant echo of applause haunt her days. Virginia Capers, who portrayed Hattie Banks, the dignified and traditional matriarch of the Banks family, was 68 when she joined the cast. Her performance was layered with grace, bringing authenticity and generational wisdom to the family dynamic. In reality, Capers carried her own burdens quietly. She was married only once, to jazz pianist Ray Capers, but the relationship ended in estrangement due to his escalating mental illness and her career ambitions. They had one son, Curtis, who struggled with schizophrenia and was institutionalized in his 20s. Capers was often torn between her devotion to her child and the call of the stage. After The Fresh Prince, Work slowed and she retreated from the spotlight, retreating into poetry and advocacy for the visually impaired after developing macular degeneration. She suffered a stroke in 2002 and never fully recovered, passing away on May 6, 2004, at the age of 78 from pneumonia complications. Her estate was modest, estimated at $250,000, consisting mainly of a small home in Los Angeles and sparse residuals. Though she died quietly, her presence left an enduring warmth in television history. Who is your favorite character from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? How does it feel knowing that some of the actors are no longer with us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on future uploads. Thank you for your support.